joining us today. My name's Gemma Van Houdren. I'm reaching out to you from Australia, where it's a great pleasure to introduce you to today's Stats Cafe. The topic for today is, what can ISI mean to you, the International Statistics Institute mean to you? I've got the pleasure of saying a few opening words and then giving you a bit of rundown and then handing you over to a really fantastic set of speakers and panelists that we've gathered here for you today. The Asia-Pacific ESCAP Stats Café Series, just a bit of housekeeping for you. This is sort of online. We will be recording this. I encourage you, please, to keep your microphones off. The chat box will be used actively, so if you have any questions, please use the chat box, and there'll be time for questions and answers. The session's also being recorded, and the Secretariat will share with you a recording of this session, so you'll be able to follow up on any particular aspects that you would like to get a little bit more information on. Depending on the quality of your internet, sometimes it helps if you keep your camera off, just to make sure you've got sufficient bandwidth to listen to all of our speakers here with us today. I have the pleasure of introducing this workshop of what does ISI mean to you. I've been a member of a profession of the International Statistics Institute for quite a number of years, and before that I was a member of the domestic professional association here in Australia called the Statistical Society of Australia, and I was a member of the Canberra branch of that statistical society from when I first joined when I was in, I think, second year at university. I have found being a member of this professional association, both domestically and internationally, to be a real privilege. You learn a lot from connecting with your global colleagues and your counterparts in your local country. And the different offerings that we're going to hear today from our panel members really traverse the range of things that the ISI offers you. First of all, we're going to hear from our one of the vice presidents of the ISI, Oliver Chawunga, who's joining us from Africa, and he's going to give you an overview of what the ISI is and its offerings. Before, we're going to hear from one of the chairs of our advisory boards, Walter Rodemacher. The ISI has several advisory boards, and one of them in particular, the one on ethics that Walter will share with you, is doing some really important work. Well, then one of the other offerings of the ISI is journals, various journals, including the Statistical Journal, the IO, International Association of Official Statisticians. And we're going to hear from Lisa Basales from the Philippines about the journal and what it offers. We're also going to hear from one of our associations, the International Association of Survey Statisticians, which is one of the key associations within the ISI. And finally, we're going to hear about capacity building and what the ISI offers from a capacity building point of view in Asia Pacific. So I really just wanted to highlight there that not only do we have this broad offering as the International Statistics Institute Professional Association, but we have very many aspects to it: advisory boards, journals, capacity building, and associations. And there is a real wealth of knowledge, expertise, experience, and mentoring opportunities from across that. So without further ado, thank you so much to ESCAP for inviting me to open and moderate this session. And I would like to please hand over to Oliver, who's going to give us a bit of an overview about the ISI. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you, Gemma, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here this morning. I hope you're able to hear me. I'm actually connecting from Botswana, not from Addis, because I have another meeting here. So I hope you're able to see me and you have the slides with you.
Yes, yes, we can hear you and see the slides. Yeah.
Thank you. So yes, I'm going to take you through really what is ISI can mean to you. What I intend to do is to take you a couple of slides. To do that, I'll just perhaps take control of the slide. Yeah, good. So I am going to talk about, first of all, what ISI is about, and then discuss a little bit about what ISI is about in terms of the strategic priorities, so to speak. Its activities, I'll run you through maybe some of the things like what kind of webinars, the blogs that we sort of involve ourselves, the short courses, and then, of course, the regional networks that we also conduct. I want to speak a little bit about just the public voice of statistics and also the awards. And, one of our major issues that we deal with is about the conference, which is the World Statistical Congress itself. So, what is ISI? First of all, this is one of the outstanding international organizations that we have created or set up in 1885. Perhaps one of the oldest, although I noticed that perhaps we have national statistical offices that are as old as 1862, but this is one of the oldest that we have. So it's been in existence since then, and it's had a very consultative kind of arrangement with the United Nations through what we call the ESCAP and the United Nations Statistical Division from 1949 itself. So that's a pretty old and kind of organization. So it runs on the motto of statistical science for a better world. So as I earlier said, this is a foundation, rather an association that was founded in 1985 in London, but now it is in The Hague. This is in the Netherlands. It has a body of it's a body of professional society of statisticians covering the whole continent, basically the whole world, so to speak, and attracts official statistics, but also include the central banks, the academia, business statisticians, and many others. It has membership that comes from 119 countries across the continent. In terms of the membership, we're talking about elected members. These are members that have contributed, achieved so much in their work areas, and then they become elected members. We also have what we call the regular members, who also join. But in addition to that, we have what we call the organizational membership in a couple of ways. One is the institutional membership that includes 96 members so far, which is national statistical offices, including other international organizations. Then we also have corporate membership. So far, we have 60 of them, which includes central banks and corporations. And of course, affiliates, members, 26 of them, mainly from the statistical societies and universities. So it is also governed by, it also have some governance arrangement, as you've heard already from the moderator, Gemma there. We have a president. We sort of to have run, I don't know how to go back to the slide that was there before.
Click on the arrow to the left at the bottom of the slide.
At the bottom of the slides. Okay, yes, I can see that. Yes, okay, yeah. I want to go back to that. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. So it has a governance arrangement. We have a president of the ISI. In this case, this time around, we have a president, assuming here, who is the president, but also we have a president-elect. Fabrizio Ruggeri is the president-elect. In other words, he's going to be taking over from assuming when time comes. And then we have our 4 vice presidents. We have Kerry, who is based in Australia. Then, of course, myself in Africa. Then we also have Denise Breeze, who is in Latin America, and Jessica in the United States, precisely. She's actually lives in California. So these are the ones that sort of constitutes what we call an executive committee of the ISI. But of course, they are supported by the permanent office, the ISI permanent office, if you like, the secretariat of the of ISI, which is headed by the director. In this case, Conchita runs the office of the permanent office, and then supported by an associate director of events. We have a marketing and communication strategist. We have a finance person, the one that deals with membership, and we also have a liaison person, marketing, and of course, the webmaster, the one that does really the ISI, making sure that we have a system that runs. So those are the staff that sit in The Hague to run the International Statistical Institute. But as you hear, this is really a very small number compared to the kinds of work that they do that I'm going to be talking about. I'm not too sure why it keeps on trying to do this. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so in terms of the work that we do, I talked about strategic priorities. First of all, let me talk about our mission. Really, our mission, or the mission of ISI, is first to lead, support, and promote the understanding, development, and good practice of statistics worldwide by providing a core network of for statistics. And the major areas that of work there is, first of all, is looking at encouraging statistical communication and networking, increasing the public voice of statistics, developing statistical capacity, and membership development across the globe. So there are a number of associations associated, and this is why I want you to, when you look at the permanent office and you look at the associates that are involved. So ISI has about 7 associations, 9 special interest groups, and 3 outreach committees. Now, on the associations, we have the International Association International Association of Survey Statisticians. We have the Bernoulli Society, which is for mathematics and statistics. And then we have the International Association for Statistical Computing. We have the International Association for Official Statistics, to which Njema just alluded to. We have the International Statistics Association on Education. We have the ISBIS, which is the International Society for Business and Industrial Statistics. And finally, we have the International Environment Society. So those are the 7 associations. But in addition to that, we have several interest groups, special groups that have, just to mention a few. We have one on agriculture, for instance. We have one on communication. We have one on data science, on women, young statisticians, and so forth. And of course, a number of 3 other outreach committees that we have. One is the Central Eurasia Outreach, one in Eastern Asia, and another on Southeast Asia Outreach Committee, just to give you an idea of the committees that we have, in addition to the associations that are part of the ISI. Now, in addition to that, also there's a number of organizations that are affiliated to the ISI. And just to mention a few of those, we have in excess of 25, but just to mention a few of those, we have the Ivan Fisher Committee of the central banks. We have the Inter-American Statistical Institute. We have the Federation of European National Statistical Society, the International Biometric Society, the American Statistical Association, the International Chinese Statistical Association, International Association of Research on Income and Wealth. And of course, there are others like ISRI and IPAMS that are partners and sponsors of the World Statistical Congress and the members of the International Statistical Science. Just to mention a few out of the many that we have, in excess of 25 that are associated or affiliated with the ISI. Now, in terms of membership activities, you've heard many times about what is called the World Statistical Congress, which is held every 2 years. We just had one this year in July. We'll be having another one in the next in 2025. And there are conferences that are being held across the continent in different forms. There are publications that are produced within the ISI, and also the associations that I talked about. There are awards that are also being awarded to those that do various activities. Of course, issues of promotion of professional ethics is one of the key areas. And one of the major activities really is the collaboration that we've had since 1949 with the United Nations Statistical Division. And of course, the network and international communities that is there. And once one is a member, also is the ensuring that one is reduced fees for being a member, and also participation in various committees that are available. I'll talk about the benefits at a later stage, perhaps towards the end, so we can sort of benefit all of us. There are also other various activities, very special one. One is that what I've just alluded, which we had in Canada recently, which is the World Statistical Congress, a very successful conference where many of the statisticians and beyond even those who are registered or who are members participate in the Congress. And we had some of them coming to Ottawa this year. And of course, participating in various UN conferences, including World Data Forum, where the ISI participates, and also, the publication of scientific publications. Some of you may have had an opportunity to access those publications, and international awards that I talked about. And one of the key flagships really is the involvement of the women and the youth in statistics through various forums. But in addition to that, we have various webinars at international level. Work that we do around capacity development globally, the work that we have through the global online platform, which we call the ISI communities, the public voice that I talked about, which is really a dynamic group of statisticians that participate and are involved in various activities, including projects on Wikipedia of statisticians, the articles, doing the annual blogs, to be able to promote the ISI and the statistical waste across the globe. And of course, the attention that we draw from the media when we run these are some of the things that really excite and generate interest around the ISI. Now, in terms of the webinars that I talked about, the blogs and short courses, we had, again, in excess of 25 webinars, which include the ISI Association. So if you bring them together, you can imagine how many of those are being conducted across the globe. The regional seminars, women in statistics, and various blogs and articles that are being produced. For instance, the future of artificial intelligence that was held in statistics in Africa. And then we had the public voice consortium, and many more that we have in addition to the courses. For instance, the ones that were run during the World Statistical Congress in 2023 in Ottawa, and of course the many other online courses and series that we have, as you can see from the slides there, that we run several of those by the ISI and its affiliated associations. Now, in terms of the regional networks, just to cite one of the feedback, if you like, that came out of the WSC, which we had in Ottawa, there was really a general satisfaction. First of all, that it does provide the possibility of having a wider network. You have access to many people that have various different kind of expertise in different areas, and that kind of infrastructure enables members to come together to be able to communicate and share ideas, work plans in person, and that's one of the really feedback that we got there. But also, when we look at the ISI communities, it allows, provides some infrastructure or online on a year-round, every year, to be able, all the months of the year, to be able to deal with so many issues across the globe. But of course, the regional events as well as one of those that again enables members to come together. And more recently, we had one in April where people met in Zambia to discuss around the IOS as well as the ISA capacity building committee to discuss various issues in Zambia, which was another very exciting event attended by many, including young statisticians that came across the globe. So in addition, if I may just talk a little bit what I talked about earlier on about the public voice. Again, I talked about
Oliver, sorry, it's Gemma here. I think you just need to start wrapping up.
Okay, I will be. So I talked about the public voice, and in terms of what it does. I'm not going to go through there. And Megason leads that particular work. And also one of the major activities that we've been doing recently is the development of the capacity development committee, strategy that's been led by Matthew as co-chair and myself as vice chair, as co-chair of this committee. We have also developed an academy, and sooner or later you'll probably to hear a little bit more about what we're doing there. So And then finally, I just want to talk about the awards that I mentioned. We have the international prizes that are provided. One of them is the Founders of Statistics Prizes, which is basically a contemporary, those that do contemporary research receive those prizes. Of course, we have the Mahalobis, we have Jean Tibejan Prize, and many others that are, again, given for those that do very well. And finally, I was going to talk about the benefits. There's several benefits that one accrue from that. I think you see them on the screen, and some of them I've already mentioned. And I really would like to encourage those that are here to consider serious to be associated with one of the sections and participate. The benefits are enormous in the sense that you improve your career development. I, for one, I belong to not just the ISI overall, but I also belong to IOS, and the ISS, and at one time I also belonged to ISBIS committee. Association rather, and when you look at when you get involved in these things, you have access to the network of statisticians. You have access to knowledge which is all over the place. So with that, I think Njema, I'll end here and perhaps allow questions as necessary as we proceed. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Oliver. You've covered a lot of material. I just check in with the Secretariat. Would you like to take Q&A now or at the end? Afsana?
Perhaps we can have it at the end because we have so many presentations and maybe it's difficult to manage the time if you want to have.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's okay. That's great. Thank you so much, Oliver. I think that's okay with you, Oliver?
That's fine with me. Thank you very much, Gemma.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. So that's wonderful. So Oliver's just, as the Vice President of the Association's just giving a really great overview of what's the benefits and is offering now. We're going to turn to a chair of one of its advisory boards of the ISI, the Advisory Board on Ethics. And I'd now like to invite Walter Rademacher. Many of you who you may know, Walter, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gemma. I'm happy to continue. I think I have to take over now, right?
Yes, take control. Yes, there we go.
Yes, you can see my slide.
Yes, and hear you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, it's easy to continue from what Oliver has said. So my role is here to explain to you from a perspective of professional ethics what is in when you look at the activities of ISI, what is in for you. And I would like to start with two slides which are a little bit of theory, giving us a little bit of theory and background so that we understand that we are able to understand, let's say, the different types of ethical frameworks and ethical guidelines and in my short introduction. So the starting point is that facts are products, so they are produced, they don't fall from heaven. They are produced by statisticians and by methods based on collected data. So that means that the quality of statistics depends on conventions and they are designed. And if this is the case, we can then look at the factors which are important for quality of statistics. And the first is that if they are constructed, nevertheless, we need to make them to be objective, neutral, and of high quality. The product quality should profit from a codification, standardization of what quality means, and a verification and quality assessment of or whether quality has been actually produced. And the third one is the social side. We need a clear mandate for the production of statistics, and we need a license in the form of money, resources, and so forth. So that means that we can distinguish in this little mapping in the first place values and attitudes, which is the guidelines of professional ethics for each statistician. We can secondly look at good practice and quality management. This is more the institutional side of statistics. So in statistical offices, in university institutes, in research bodies and so forth. And third one, we have a kind of component which is looking at the environment around statistics. So what is now called the data ecosystem of statistics. And there, good quality depends on the integrity of this, the freedom of corruption and, let's say, good governance around statistics. So if you bear this in mind, then we have two types of frameworks existing. On the left side here, we have the professional ethics, which are more or less under the umbrella of the ISI. And on the right side, we have a couple of good practices guidelines, which are partly more or less covered also by the IAOS. For example, here the fundamental principles of official statistics, and we have similar guidelines in Europe or by the OECD, just to mention a few of them. Now, the recent challenges we are faced with in the area of ethics is firstly that we need an update of guidance on transparency, uncertainty, quantification, reproducibility, quality characteristics, and the privacy of data. And all of this hangs together partly with the, let's say, the new world of so-called big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So this is a new environment. The data ecosystem as such is changing, and we have to ask ourselves how far this must be mirrored in the three types of guidance that I have mentioned. Secondly, we in the advisory board have been asked to look in the important field of indigenous data governance. This has started in a couple of countries, in particular in New Zealand, in Australia and Canada, but it's now, let's say, going into many countries, including Latin America, the US, and so forth. Problems with the integrity and independence of statistics in various regions and states. I will come back later to this particular point. Changes in the task and role of public statistics in this new field of competitive field of the data ecosystem, where more or less everybody possibly could produce indicators as traditionally only statistical offices could do. And the last one is then the question of dissemination, training, education of ethical principles in around the globe. Now, this is a snapshot, a screenshot from the ISI website, where you can link to the latest form of the Declaration on Professional Ethics, which was decided and adopted within the Ottawa conference that Oliver has just mentioned. So there is a new form which includes already a couple of points that cover the new fields of big data and artificial intelligence. Now, looking quickly into this professional Declaration of Professional Ethics, you know that professional ethics are existing in many professions. Just think about the oath of the medical doctors, and something like that is also in place here for us statisticians. So it's more or less a kind of a framework which should guide us as professional individuals. And the starting point and the let's say the core of it is that we as professional statisticians have a responsibility in many forms. Responsibility with regard to our products, and responsibility vis-à-vis the society, vis-à-vis employers, clients, and funders, colleagues, and subjects, which are more or less then part of our work. For example, when they are subjects in surveys and we collect individual data from these persons. The values of the declaration, they are threefold. And I've just mentioned a couple of the first sentences in these values. The first value is respect. We respect the privacy of others and the promises of confidentiality given to them. And there are more components which belong to respect. Professionalism is the second one, implies responsibility, competence, and expert knowledge. Very important also for the trustworthiness of our work. And the last one, also related to trustworthiness, is truthfulness and integrity. And we mean that we have to act independent, objective, and to be transparent, so give account on our results. The ethical principles, so they are not commandments, but they are partly overlapping. They are guidance, and they should stimulate, when you read them and you apply them, they should stimulate a kind of reflexive mode as in terms of our professional behavior. So pursuing objectivity, assessing alternative impartiality, down to protecting the interest of the subject. So there are 12 principles. And they are elaborated in the declaration, and there are also more or less now in place tools and boxes where you can be helped when you are in a situation to start your work, that you can see which kind of ethical principles do I have to bear in mind in my particular situation. Now, shortly looking at the advisory board. So we have got a mandate and a role and board objectives, which can be followed on the ISI website. The members of the board are more or less spread around the regions of the globe, and also different societies. We have a little bit of how to say, a bias towards the IAOS, because many of the problems that we have faced in the past were linked to the field of official statistics. But you can see here that we have more or less a good coverage of the ISI membership around the continents of the globe. Now, the activities that we currently run is firstly, we advise, this is our main mandate, we advise the Executive Committee on Ethical and Integrity issues. So if something happens in a country and it comes to our ears, we sit together and more or less consider how to react, how to improve the situation, how to talk to the people in the respective country, or ultimately to publish a statement. The program of work, as I have already mentioned, is on big data, data sciences, artificial intelligence. The second actual point is co-design of statistics and society, with a particular focus on indigenous data governance. Then thirdly, and this will be the link then to Matthew and his introduction, is education, online training courses, and promotion of the principles that we currently develop. More or less then generally to improve reflexive components in statistics, education in general, in research and conferences. And finally, the attempt to improve evidence on the integrity of data ecosystems in countries around the globe. We have a liaison with other associations, but this is exactly the same as Oliver has said. And we are quite active in ISI or IAOS conferences and webinars. Briefly on statements we have issued. The last ones I have mentioned here is on El Salvador. We have made a statement on professional ethics in general, but there was a problem in a European country which was triggering this statement. We have issued a statement on Turkey, on the Fiji Islands, and a very long story on, let's say, a Greek drama, so to say, which is already ongoing since more than 10 years. Now, before I'm coming to the end, I would just to look briefly into the two other components, because I have focused here on ethics, professional ethics, but there is, as I have already introduced, there is a kind of brother or sister to this in form of good quality and good practice and quality management. And here I would like to mention the UN Fundamental Principles of Official Statistics. I do not want to go through it, but here you see more, let's say, real guidance, which have more the form of a checking list, where you can tick boxes and say, okay, I have done this, I have done this, I have done this. So this is then the field of one association under the ISI umbrella, namely official statistics. But there are also others in other, let's say, professional areas of professional application of statistics, just to mention one of them. And last but not least, integrity. As I have said, this is about the environment around statistics, so the social, the political situation. And here, I must say, there is not much that we can offer, but it's certainly very important that also guidance here for the political users and for the political masters in statistics could be developed and could be used as a reference scheme. And I just want to mention here that our colleagues in journalism, they have developed the World Press Freedom Index. And this gives account on the situation of the ecosystem and the working situation of journalists around the globe. And each year you can see here how good or how bad the situation on journalistic freedom is. And it would be a nice dream, at least for myself, to have something similar in the area of statistics. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Walter. I really do appreciate that discussion around one of the advisory committees in the ISI. And as you can see, the advisory committees, even though it's on ethics, they also look at this issue of integrity, quality, and really do make that link to the United Nations that we heard from Oliver in the first session as well. So thank you for that. We're going to be sharing the slides afterwards, so I just wanted to highlight that Walter's put a lot of links in his presentation, which you'll be able to explore at greater length. So thank you so much, Walter. Can I now hand over to Lisa Basales? Lisa's going to actually explore one of our journals, the Statistical Journal of Official Statistics. And Lisa's on the executive committee of the International Association for Official Statistics, so very well placed to discuss this. So thank you so much, Lisa. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Gemma. And so as Gemma said, I'm going to talk about one journal among many journals in ISI, and this is the SJIAOS, the Statistical Journal of the International Association for Official Statistics. Oliver actually mentioned the mission of the ISI, but I felt that I would want to share the vision as well, because the journals of the ISI, including SJIOS, actually helps in the ISI achieving its vision. So I SI's vision is to be an international statistical organization that sets the global standard for ethical practice statistics, and Walter discussed ethics, connects its members and shares the most recent developments in statistical techniques and practices. I believe the journals are very much important in this, and offers high quality scientific content support the development of statisticians from all over the world. The journal is the journal of the IAOS, our International Association for Official Statistics, and the mission of IAOS is to promote the understanding and advancement of official statistics and related subjects, and to foster the development of effective and efficient official statistical services through international contacts among individuals and organizations, including users of official statistics, as well as research institutes. We've been using the phrase official statistics. I decided to just put the definition as written in the first principle of the UN Fundamental Principles of Official Statistics that Walter also discussed. So when we say official statistics, we refer to those produced by government agencies and can inform debate and decision making both by governments and by the wider community. And principle one of the UN fundamental principles of official statistics actually says that we should have information systems that can be used to promote a democratic society. So, as I've mentioned earlier, this statistical journal, SJIAOS, is just one among many journals under the ISI's associations. And the list of associations was already mentioned by Oliver. So my focus is more on our statistical journal of the Association for Official Statistics. The main aim of this journal is to support the association's mission by publishing articles to promote the understanding and advancement of official statistics, and to foster the development of effective and efficient official statistical services on a global basis. So the journal is the flagship journal of the association. It publishes papers of wide interest to both users and producers of official statistics, and it has an editorial board. We actually have a big editorial team headed by the editor-in-chief, who is responsible for ensuring that the journal focuses on current and emerging issues and challenges related to the management, production, and use of official statistics and related public policy matters. So Walter also mentioned challenges that are facing official statistics now, and the journal actually has been publishing a number of papers that could address these challenges. And our current editor-in-chief is Pietro Genari, and in the slide we have his email address. I was part of the team before under Peter Everers. All papers of the journal are refereed, and so this is very important for our academics who have been helping official statisticians in answering the many challenges that confront NSOs and government agencies to produce official statistics. And so because these are refereed, the academics and other important researchers that publish have this as a plus for them. Papers are expected to be of wide interest to readers, and papers are encouraged to have focus on the basic principles of official statistics, covering areas such as the importance of applying the best scientific methods, the need for statistical independence, balancing the needs of users with the burden on respondents, the continuing challenges around confidentiality, and the growing need for consistency and coherence across statistical domains and over time, and for international comparability. So you will note that the issues that were discussed by Walter are actually issues that the journal would like to have papers on. Broad topics of papers, therefore, that we have been publishing include developments and challenges for both global and national statistical systems, statistical independence and legislation, new directions for official statistics, delivering relevant and effective statistical services, new and innovative ways of increasing uses and users of official statistics. I would like to note that very important now is data use and reuse. And that is what we are also writing about in the journal. Of course, quality of official statistics. We really promote that official statistics have the trust of the public and its users. Engagement of producers is also part of topics, especially now that we have other parties, what we call third parties, that may produce official statistics in this new data ecosystem. Innovative use of ICT for official statistics, creative use of both new and existing statistical sources. So here you have AI, big data, organization of statistical services, statistical infrastructure and tools, management of statistical and related metadata, innovative statistical products and services, training of statistical staff, users, and producers, improving statistical literacy in the community. So I'm sharing with you the link to our journal, and this is how our journal looks, the website. And I included SDGs because in the past years, official statistics has become really on the pedestal, if I may say so, because of SDGs and the need for data. So even if we say we go to official statisticians to produce the data for monitoring and planning for SDGs accomplishments, we really are into promoting a data ecosystem. And the SDGs really put forward the need for more papers to discuss the challenges of official statisticians. Some latest papers are, example is integrating big data and survey data for efficient estimation of the median. So as you will notice, we are really promoting use of the various data in the data ecosystem now, big data, but never forgetting the importance as well of survey data. But I also would like to share that the journal also has papers for specific countries. So some of the papers in the more recent versions were about Peru, Mali, and of course, in my region, from Indonesia. So we have global issues, but we have issues in various countries. And so what can the ISI do for us, especially the journal? It is a platform to contribute, to learn, to be updated, and to connect. Thank you very much, Gemma.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Lisa, and really appreciate that overview of our statistical journal of the International Association of Official Statistics. I would like to highlight there that one of the papers that Lisa just shared was from one of the winners of the Young Statistician Prize, that is also one of the offerings that Oliver shared with you, that the ISI and its associations have a range of prizes, and for the iOS we have a Young Statistician Prize, and that paper on integrating big data and survey data was one of the winners of the recent Young Statistician Prize. So thank you for picking that paper, Lisa. That was really good to showcase that one and just highlight the topics that was shared there. We're now moving to an insight from one of our associations. Natalie Shnomo is with us today, President of the International Association of Survey Statisticians, which is one of the very active associations in the ISI. Natalie's joining us from the UK, so we've got a real diverse global group with us today. And I wanted to well, I'll hand over to you. Thank you so much, Natalie. Over to you. And I think you're still on mute there, Natalie.
Yeah, sorry. I'm very pleased to be invited to speak to you today about the International Association of Survey Statisticians, IASS, which of course highly works together with the IAOS of official statistics. And what our aim is to promote the study and development of the theory and practice of sample surveys and censuses around the world. And together with the IAOS, we aim to increase the awareness of statistics and the methodology that are underpinning the surveys and censuses to statisticians, government, and the public around the globe. And we just celebrated our 50-year jubilee, so I invite you to look at our special issue of the Survey Statistician in the link there. So, of course, besides traditional and methodological development in census and surveys, we have a look at innovation. And of course, as we saw in the recent paper highlighted in this statistical journal of the IAOS about big data. So we have large demands for new sources of data using big data, social media interactions, electronic commercial transactions, sensor networks, and all of these new forms of data, of course, require methodological innovations and how we can incorporate these into our national statistical systems. There's larger demands for more detailed, less burdensome and costly statistics, and a request for wider coverage. So developing statistical methods that are based on representative survey data, it is in essence, the survey data is now going to be used to validate and ensure the representativity of new forms of data. So we have a lot of challenges in the world of survey statistics that our memberships are facing. So what can the IASS do for you? Well, one of the things we do is, of course, support conferences and workshops that are supported by the IASS, anything related to the development of theory and practice of sample surveys and censuses, new forms of data, integrating data, all the recent challenges that we have in our national statistical systems. We also supported, for example, the Baltic Nordic Ukrainian Network and Survey Statistics that was held in August. So we have a range of conferences that we support and help fund. We also have an online webinar series that happen monthly, and it started sort of during the COVID period, but we have it's been so successful that we have continued with this monthly webinar series. We're able to get really top leading statisticians talking about aspects of survey statistics. And every month we have usually the last Tuesday of the month, we have a webinar. So please look out for that in our IASS websites. You've got the links there. Up to September 2023, we've had 32 highly successful webinars. And you can also review the past webinars on our IASS website, but the recordings are on the ISI website. So have a look there and see the webinar series. We also offer prizes. We've got a Cochrane-Hansen Prize, which happens every 2 years for the best paper of a young statistician from a developing country or transition country. And the prize entails funding to basically attend the World Statistics Congress to receive, so that the recipient can receive the prize and present their paper. We've also instituted a new prize since 2022 on the name of under the name of Hukum Chandra, who was a very prominent survey statistician in India who sadly passed away from the COVID pandemic. And so we have now a prize for a mid-year career individual, basically around 10 years, basically on the same trajectory that Hukum was, and focusing on areas of small area estimation, official statistics, survey sampling, etc. So 2 prizes we offer. We already mentioned that we have the survey statistician, and this last July issue, of course, was our 50-year jubilee celebration. So it had many contributions from prominent statisticians around the world. But just to give you a flavor of what's in our journal. We've got every issue, it's twice a year, and every issue we've got new and emerging methods, getting a prominent statistician to write about new approaches, new methodologies. We've got Ask the Expert, book and software reviews. We also have country reports, so we have many country representatives who contribute reports on what's happening in their countries. So you've got the links there in this presentation to take a look at our news, at our journal, the Survey Statistician. We also issue every month, of course, newsletters, as you would in any professional society. We've got links in social media, so you can take a look there at the links in LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, etc. So we are trying to increase our presence in social media, trying to engage perhaps with the younger generation who ask themselves, why do I need to join a professional society? I hope that after today's sessions, that will give you an answer why it's so important to join a statistical society, to not only to engage in networking and communications, but also to ensure sort of the ethical practice of our professions, as we heard from Walter. So it's incredibly important to join the network of professionals in a society such as ours. Finally, we contribute, of course, to the World Statistics Congress, and I just put out a podcast about survey statistics and what is the future of survey statisticians, so you can see the links there in Stats and Stories. We do engage with country representatives. We have about 60 representatives in different countries, and of course they help with the recruitment to the IASS membership recruitment, but also they contribute articles to our journal, The Survey Statistician, and we get to hear what's happening in countries around the world. So it's a very exciting section of our journal, Survey Statistician. So what's going on for the future? Well, in the future, we aim to build new partnerships and increase our institutional members with other types of organizations, such as private and public NGOs and NSIs, of course, and data providers and business companies. We are now instituting a new section in our journal, The Survey Statistician, for early career survey statisticians. So watch out for that. We'll have contributions from early career survey statisticians. We are attempting to enhance the connection and communication with our country representatives to help with recruitment and visibility within countries, continuing to build our social media and our website to disseminate the ISS activities. You've got the link there. Targeted, as again, we are continuing with our targeted financial support for conferences. We're offering online short courses and also, of course, promoting the webinar series, our monthly webinar series, continuing with that. And this time we want to organize, because we traditionally always contributed and supported other conferences, we would like to, in 2025, organize a bespoke ISS satellite conference to the 65th WSC that's planned for The Hague, and it'll probably happen in Manchester since that's where I'm based and easy to promote. So watch out for that space for an IASS satellite conference attached to the WSC in The Hague. Thank you very much for your attention, and you've got the link there to be a member of the ISS, and I'm happy to take further questions.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Natalie, for that overview of the IASS. Yeah, really great that you've put in there a recruitment drive for country representatives. So for those of us listening from the Asia-Pacific region, if you are interested in becoming both a member of the International Association of Survey Statisticians, but also a country representative, I do encourage you to go and have a look at all the links there that are in Natalie's presentation. It really is a valuable role to get involved as a country representative, because these associations, because we're global membership, you know, and many of us are working in so many diverse parts of the world, having representatives from both developed and developing nations, from the northern and the southern hemisphere, from small island developing states, as well as from big developed countries like where Natalie is and in the UK. I think that just the diversity is really quite good. So if you are listening to this podcast, this Stats Cafe today, or you're listening to a recording of it, I would really encourage you to take up Natalie's encouragement there to get involved. We're now moving to our last speaker, and we do have made up a bit of time. Thank you so much. So we do have definitely some time for Q&A. So if you haven't thought of some questions yet, please do think about them. We're now going to invite Matthew Shearing to talk about capacity building that the ISI leads, with a particular focus on our region. Thank you so much. Over to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Gemma. Hopefully you can hear me. Great. Okay, so this very short time I have, I'm going to talk to you about proposals which we've been developing over the last 2 years or so. And this is a proposal to create a new unit, a new kind of institutional arrangement within the ISI called an Academy for Capacity Development. Now, the Academy is really just trying to think about, well, how can the ISI respond to all these changes we know are going on in the modern data ecosystem, and how can we help fill the gaps that we know are there in terms of the way we develop capacity in official statistics and elsewhere. So essentially, we've been going through a global consultation through our members and potential partners and everyone with an interest in capacity development to kind of find out the answers to those questions. And it's really important to think of it like that, because the ISI is an organization driven by its membership, about what members want and what they need. And when we talk about the question, well, okay, how can the ISI help ESCAP in terms of capacity development, then really that's the question that's open to you. So I'd really like you as the audience to think about what the answers to those questions are. That we've been developing the proposal for the Academy as a kind of a framework to help you to bring solutions to the table and to help you deliver them. So I'd be really interested in your feedback about where we've got to on these proposals after I finish. Thank you. So just to take a step back, probably everyone knows all of these things, but I think this is really important to iterate. Well, what's the kind of problem we're trying to solve? What are the challenges that the ISI can maybe help with? So when we think about capacity development, we think about it being for institutions, about organizations, how they grow, but also each of our individual members. You on a personal level, how can we help your career grow? What is it that a professional society like the ISI and its associations can help with in both of those contexts? And as we've heard today, in many senses, the ISI normally it helps to build capacity, it helps to develop the capacity, particularly of individuals, informally or through all of the kind of training that we've mentioned already, and all those things that are going on. They do kind of by osmosis build capacity. But the key exam question is, how can we do that in a more strategic and a more structured way? And we know, as I said before, there are big gaps. There are big gaps in data, and there are big gaps in the skills required to build those data and other kind of knowledge which will help us build for the future. And what we know is when we think about capacity development, there are so many suppliers, there are so many trainers, there are so many banks or statistical organizations that are investing in capacity development. But we know it's not really that well organized. Let's be honest, we're an independent organization that can speak like members, and the fragmentation is rather inefficient. So maybe when we think how the ISI can help, let's think about how we can help with that particular problem. And we know there aren't really any standards. What does capacity development mean? What is good capacity development? And how do we control, monitor the quality? And maybe the ISI can help there, because we're an independent organization which is focused on using statistics, the common good. So I think there's a potential there. We know that the ISI has some really good comparative advantages. What we shouldn't be doing is what other people can do well. So let's think about what it is that's special about us and how we can help. And I think for me, it's that independence. So we're not really in this organization to represent our organizations that we work for. We're in here as professional statisticians generally. We know there's huge potential. We are a global organization. Oliver mentioned the whole structure, how many people, how big our network is. So not just the organizations which are members, but all the affiliates, etc., etc. So we've got this huge global potential to have kind of an independent role in the capacity development space. So I mentioned we do capacity development already, but I think that a key question is how can we upscale? We know we've got some successes. How can we upscale those things? We've got loads of really good things going on. So Walter just talked about the advisory committee on ethics. There's a big list there, a wish list of things that could happen. But we know those things aren't necessarily going to happen based on just volunteer input. So we need to think about how do we get to funded projects that can really make an impact. The organization is full of pro bono support, volunteering, but it has a limitation that, and we know it can go even further, but if we can find a way to make a good case for financing, we know we can achieve so much more. I mean, there's also the International Statistical Literacy Program, which is doing great things around the world in that area, sponsored by the International Association for Statistics in Education, one of our associations. We know that there's kind of informal mentorships going on. We know at conferences people develop lifelong relationships. How do we make that more structured in the future? And how do we make it more regionally relevant? We know that we're a global organization, but we know that geography matters. So how can we adapt that global approach to be most befitting of what's happening regional areas? So that's the key question today about Asia and the Pacific. How do we kind of put this into place in your region? What we do know is that we've got to coordinate with partners. As I said before, we can't just replicate what people do. We have to seek the right space for the ISI, and we need to coordinate with not just our associations and all those affiliates, but all the people involved across the statistical world to find out how we can best find the right fit. And what we need to do is fundraising without taking funds from what's already happening in capacity development. So we don't want to be competing. We want to find new ways of making a case for finances, for funding from places where it hasn't necessarily come from before. So we have to be really exciting and make the business case about how the ISI can add real value. So there's the challenge. And let's think about that in the ESCAP region today. So in terms of the academy concept, to answer those questions, at the moment, we've got these proposals for two functions. One is a delivery center, which could organize projects and deliver program managed projects that were developing capacity around these ideas where we can add value. And then a quality center, and a quality center potentially will do things around standards, tools, training for capacity development, and see capacity development maybe as a professional discipline. We're an organization of professionals. We all benefit from capacity development, but it's not really managed as a profession, as a bunch of knowledge that needs to be created and diffused. So in terms of all of that, we know that we need to be structured and have a strategy, and we've come up with these core principles, which hopefully fit in well with what we know the ISI can do. And we know what the real priorities around the world are to be demand driven, not driven by supply and the needs of suppliers and organizations and potentially governments, to be able to be more demand driven about what our members want as statisticians. Also, to support the whole overall ISI mission, we need to be thinking about scientific processes and independence. And I think we can really add value in those areas. Another area where we can really add value is transferring knowledge across all of the disciplines that we have within the ISI and its family, but within that network we have with businesses, the private sector, with civil society, there is knowledge that can be transferred, which is more and more relevant to data and statistics as we move into this modern data ecosystem. We also want to leverage efficiencies with our partner organizations. So we must be thinking constantly, we're not doing this in a box. How do we work with others to make it work most efficiently? And to make sure that when we do something, it's long-term, it has scalable solutions. It's not just an in and out. We know capacity development is often just training courses that last for a day or a few days and doesn't really have that big of an impact. How can we do better as the ISI? So within ESCAP region, Asia-Pacific, so I'll take the question back to you. Within those proposals that we're developing, what is it that you think we could do in terms of capacity development projects in the regions? And how can we make it most relevant to your regions or part of the Asia-Pacific region? And think about, okay, if we're going to play that role as kind of independent, supporting quality, what is it the things that you would like to see happen in terms of what that function of the academy could do to support the people that are either supplying you capacity development or when you do capacity development? What kind of tools would be useful for us to think about providing you? And also an important thing to think about is building towards the World Statistics Congress in your region in 2027. So we're talking about those long-term scalable impacts. Let's think about how we use that as a target and as a stepping point to kind of upscale our successes in capacity development in the region. And I think, as Oliver mentioned before, the last thing to say that there are outreach committees in your region already, in Central Eurasia, East Asia, and in Southeast Asia. All the details are on the ISI website, so you can reach out to them or reach out to anybody in this virtual room on the ISI side to get involved more. I'll stop there. Thank you, Gemma.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Matthew, and really great highlight to end on. Well, we've got a slide in a minute about the next World Statistics Congress that's happening in the Asia-Pacific region. There it is there for 2027 in July 15 to 22. Then the next ISI World Statistics Conference is going to be in The Hague in 2025, but in 2027 it's going to be in the Asia-Pacific region, hosted by the Republic of Korea in Busan. Thank you so much, everyone. We now have some Q&A, and I'm just checking in now with ESCAP Secretariat and just checking in with Rachel. Would you like to facilitate the Q&A, Rachel, or are you happy for me to just keep going for a few minutes and then yep.
Feel free to keep going, Gemma.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Rachel. So look, thank you to everybody for joining us today. We've covered a lot of material from the ISA and its offerings through advisory committees, capacity building, our journal association, and we now have time for questions, and I'm really pleased that everyone's put their cameras back on. We did have I might kick off with a question that came through before today's session from Konhee Wah, from the Deputy Director of the Department of Statistics in Malaysia, who has asked what ISI could provide for the benefit of people working on statistics beyond knowledge sharing and promoting statistics. So I'm just wondering if someone would like to answer that. What does ISI offer beyond promoting statistics and knowledge sharing? Go back to you, Matthew. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Gemma. Well, hopefully that question was kind of answered in my presentation, and I think that it's still an open question about what that is. But maybe I should just talk some of the other ideas we're thinking about in terms of project proposals, about funded project proposals, include creating professional societies in regional areas in Africa, in the Pacific, and looking at how they can use that network across sectors to benefit both sectors. We're thinking about how do we use this network to transfer knowledge between academics and statisticians. I mean, Walter was talking about a good transfer of knowledge between official statisticians who are more experienced in this to academia and artificial intelligence, and that's one route. And how do we upscale that kind of thing? But there's soft skills like leadership, communication, areas where statisticians are getting better, but we've traditionally not necessarily performed that well, and areas where we're going to have to really up our game in the next 10, 20 years. And a lot of that knowledge needs to come from private sector, civil society, etc. We need to be more extroverted. And I think for statisticians to thrive in the next generation, we have to start thinking more and more outside of these boxes to kind of answer the question which is put forward there.
Yeah. Thanks, Matthew. Did anyone else want to add in here? Conchita, the director of the ISI, and then I'll come to you, Lisa, and then to you, Natalie. Conchita.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you. Very interesting, all these stories. I think one of the things that, besides what has been told here, is very interesting is that you can really participate and contribute to what we're doing. And a lot of people are working within their own organization in their own country. And a nice thing is that you can really participate in the projects, in the activities that we're doing, and reach out to an international environment, which is really different than just your own organization or country. And even if you're a member of your own statistical society in your country, which may or may not be over sectors. It's not that international. So I think reaching out and connecting with a lot of very high standard persons that we have in the ISI is going to drive your career as well.
Yes. No, thanks, Conchita. Yeah, great points there. Lisa.
Yes, I would like to add to what Matthew and Conchita said. Mine is more personal. You know, as you connect professionally, you develop friendships. So for me, my takeaway from ISI, and I started participating when I was a junior faculty in the 1980s, when ISI was held in Manila. And I've come to have lifelong friendships all over the world, and we always say, "Oh, see you in the next ISI." And
Yes.
I hope she doesn't mind. Titi Kanti of Indonesia is here. She's one of those. And for me, that's really very important. You have developed professional relationships, which become really your lifelong friends. You can go to if you have questions professionally, and just to say, "Hey, let's meet up again."
Yes.
Thank you, Gemma.
No, thank you so much, Lisa. That's a really great connection. Natalie.
I just wanted to point out, especially because this question comes often, particularly with the younger people, why should I join a professional society? And especially because of we're in social media and everybody's, can network more easily than perhaps 30, 40 years ago when we really could only network through our WSCs. But the point is that I can't emphasize enough how important it is to be a part of a professional society with respect to, standards and good practice and ethics. And it really brings our profession into a much higher level, belonging to something like ISI or other professional societies. It's really important to support professional societies particularly in our profession.
Yes, I agree, Natalie. It brings that credibility and the trust in what we do, that not only are we following our professional standards or the standards of our country or the standards of the United Nations, we're also living up to the standards of our own professional association and our peers and our colleagues. So I agree, Natalie, that's a great point. Really probably worthwhile handing now over to Walter, which was the topic of his presentation. Walter.
Well, I can easily continue from where Natalie stopped, but turning the question around, is it reasonable to not be a member of a professional association? Because imagine you were a medical doctor or an engineer. It would be quite clear that you understand yourself, that your identity would be defined that you are part of a profession. And this is what we want to achieve, that you we as professional statisticians understand ourselves as representatives and members of a profession. That means that this profession needs to be reflected by ourselves and to move forward so that we are a modern profession with a kind of identity which can survive in the competition with other professions in the neighborhood. And here I would like to mention explicitly the computer scientists and the informatic people who are much bigger in terms of numbers compared to our, let's say, relatively small community. So, but my understanding is that statistics is a profession, that we understand what kind of profession is this, which kind of ethical, let's say, basis is in there, and that will then go into all the fields of education at universities, in application, in behavior, and. So the very basis is our professional self-definition and understanding of our identity, and this is the ISI role. Thanks.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks so much, Walter. Oliver, I saw your hand go up, no, down, go
Yes.
up. Would you like to add here?
Yes, I was wondering why it kept on dropping, but yes, I would like to go here. Without having to risk repeating what has been said already, I want to say this, that the data ecosystem has changed. And I think the issue of relevance becomes very critical as statisticians now, much more than ever, because you need to belong to an association to remain relevant. We have what I call data enthusiasts that are doing more or less similar things without having to follow the ethical things that Walter and everyone has talked about. So I think belonging to an association like ISI becomes important so that you can then become abreast with other developments that are going on, particularly with data technology, the issues of data science. And I think it can only be able to do that if you belong to an association like this. Otherwise, like Matthew said, if we don't do that as statisticians, very soon will become irrelevant because others are doing even much at a faster rate than we are doing, because we are used to traditional ways of doing things, having to wait for a survey and so forth and so forth. So an association sort of helps to bridge that. And Matthew talked about academia. I think the need to begin to bridge with academia, to bridge with the private sector becomes critical. How do we bring to the fore? In my view, ISI, one of the things that perhaps we need to do going forward, how do we attract the private sector to, those that are involved in data to become part of this? If we don't do this, we're in trouble going to the future. As much as we want to protect or gatekeepers of statistics, we need to bring the private sector in the fore. Thanks.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks, Oliver. Can I just add a few reflections as well to the Malaysian question, the questionnaire from the Department of Statistics in Malaysia? What do we offer in addition to everything my colleagues and friends have said there? We offer mentoring. We offer the journals where you can have your work published and exposed to a wider community. We offer these conferences where you can go and do just-in-time learning and connect with people. We offer these webinars like today and the webinars that Natalie talked about. So there is promoting, there is knowledge sharing, but it's also exposing your work to others. It's getting mentors, lifelong friends like Lisa shared. Also, it also offers you the opportunity to become a member and learn how to be member of a governance committee, learn those skills of how to contribute, how to be in regular meetings, take action items. So if you're looking for also some experience of being in a secretariat and a governance forum, the ISI offers that too, by putting a hand up, for instance, to be on one of the executive or a country representative like we just heard from the IASS. So really there is a whole range of learnings that you can get and building of your own capacity by being part of our professional association. There's no other questions that's coming up in the chat, but there was two other questions, and I'd just like to ask if anybody was able to address them. The first question was around, does ISI offer anything in specific fields of statistics? Like in this case, it was foreign direct investment statistics. A colleague from India asked, what do we offer in foreign direct investment statistics? My experience is the ISI tends to focus on techniques like survey statisticians, official stats, statistical education, rather than very specific fields of statistics, but maybe somebody from the panel would like to comment on that. And then the other question was around how does the ISI, well, the specific question was, can a driven society reduce wars in the world? But I think maybe if we could ask one of the panel members, maybe Walter, if you could reflect how picking up your comments there around how being part of a professional association improves the transparency and trust and governance of our societies, and can a data-driven society improve the standing of the world? But maybe on the first comment, is anyone able to comment on whether the ISI delves into specific fields of statistics like direct foreign investment? Oliver, were you able to comment there?
Let me comment on that. I think part of the aspirations under the what Matthew talked about, the academy. If there is a lot of interest around that investment, and there's probably a number of countries that are interested, this is something that will be considered that would run a course by looking for experts that are good at issues of private investment and so forth in FDIs and stuff like that. We could do this. This is one of the projects that could be considered depending on the interests under the academy. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, no, that's great. All right, thank you so much. I'll hand over to Walter and then I'll come to you, Lisa. Walter.
Well, you asked me to express an opinion on the other question, namely, can a data-driven society be helpful in avoiding critical crises and wars and so forth? I think that was the question. Well, I think the answer is not that easy. The first is, I think there is no immediate impact on, let's say, statistics in, let's say, avoiding wars. But I think there is an indirect effect that, let's say, me as a statistician, I would strongly believe that evidence, good evidence, trustworthy evidence, is a precondition for a good, let's say, solution-oriented evidence making in societies, participative, transparent, and so forth. The second remark is I would underline that I would not use the term data-driven. I would use the term evidence-driven, because for me, the difference between data, which is the raw material, and evidence, which is good quality information, is huge. So I don't like at all this kind of data-driven societies, data-driven, and because it sounds like an automatism, which is not the case. We as a profession stand between data and good evidence. So we are the refinery, so to say, that uses the crude oil and produces, let's say, good evidence. And so we are there to produce good evidence, excellent statistics, which are trustworthy as a precondition for, let's say, avoiding crisis, help making good solutions, which are fair, transparent, helping democracies and so forth. So complex, not an easy answer. Sorry.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Walter. I'm going to hand to Lisa and then Rachel, if I can hand over to you following Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Gemma. I don't have a specific answer, but I would like to direct our colleague to visit the SJIAOS, the journal, because the journal actually has different articles on different areas of statistics. When I was a thematic editor, my focus was sustainable development goals. I was not in the economic part though, but I know that there are papers on foreign direct investment, issues on measurement, issues of validity. So kindly please visit the journal. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gemma.
Thank you.
Thank
Over to you, Rachel. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Gemma. So this has been a fantastic kind of real opportunity to just hear from so many different people around the world. It's great to go even beyond Asia-Pacific, which itself is a huge region, but we've managed to spread ourselves out into Africa and Europe as well today. So that's fantastic. And I think what we really kind of heard about today is just the breadth of work that's kind of going on with the ISI and with all the different kind of related associations, with the kind of journals, as well as the actual World Statistics Congress as well. So there's so much going on, and so many opportunities to actually participate and to really kind of learn from that. And I think it was really great as well just to hear about that kind of the professionalism, obviously, that brings. But I think what it also does is it really gives that opportunity to not feel alone. And I think we know that the challenges are huge. Often when you're sitting at your desk, you might feel overwhelmed, but actually, you know, there's this huge community out there that are kind of standing ready to help. And I think as well, what we haven't really said, but I mean, we have some amazing people. And even if as I look through the list of people today, we have people that have got such a lot of experience. There are people here who've actually been, you know, managing a national statistics office for many years, like Lisa herself. But, you know, and I could see others as well in the list, you know, there, which means we have that massive experience. So we don't need to be alone. And I think Lisa put it extremely well as well, that actually it's an opportunity to really develop those personal friendships as well through this community. And I think this is about a community, isn't it? And a family. And we know that when we get together. So thank you so much. I want to say a huge thank you to all of the participants, because we couldn't do it without you. And also, you know, the ISI itself is made up of people, isn't it? So we really do need that wide breadth of people being involved. So we hope that we'll be able to get more people involved. And thank you so much to all of the speakers as well. Really great to hear so many different perspectives, and lovely as well to see Gemma moderating for us, having taken over her role. It's been fantastic as well to be able to carry on these stats cafes that she so ably started, and just to see how useful they are as well in bringing together that wide community of people. So a huge thank you. Can I also, of course, ask that you fill in the survey forms? We will do, there's a specific some questions around the future sessions and what we would like those to cover. So please do click on the QR link, let us know. You can also put things into the comment box. And thank you everyone so much for your participation. And we look forward to seeing you at many future stats cafes, but also at future ISI events as well. And I'm particularly excited as well. I've got something, that's my first event that I'm going to put in my diary for 2027 in Korea. So that's quite exciting as well. Normally I only plan for the next weekend. So I will put this one into my diary and hopefully see lots of you there in the future. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.